All right, the next part in our journey on exponents is going to be raising a quotient to a power. To raise a quotient to a power, raise the numerator and the denominator to the power and simplify. So the quantity a divided by b to the n power becomes a to the n divided by b to the n, where a cannot equal 0, b cannot equal 0, and n is a rational number. You have some examples there. 3/5 to the third power would be 3 to the third, 5 to the third. You can see they've distributed the 3 to both terms. Same here with the 5 or the 1/2 to both terms, and then simplified if necessary. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example here. What is the simplified form of z to the 2/3 divided by 5 to the third? So I'm going to distribute again that third to both sides. So that's going to be z to the 2/3 times 3/1, because this is a power to a power, over 5 to the third power. So that's going to be z to the 6/3 divided by 5 to the third power. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so that's going to be z squared. And if we work out 5 to the third power, we end up with 125. So z squared over 525 ends up being answer D. Let's go ahead and take a look at your questions in the book. Part A, what is the simplified form of 4 divided by x to the third squared? So again, we're going to distribute that 2 to both the numerator and denominator. So that's 4 squared over x to the third to the second. Well, we know 4 squared is 16 over x to the 6th power. Part B, describe 2 different ways to simplify the expression a to the 3/4 divided by a to the 5th to the 4th power. Well, method 1 would be doing what we were doing before and distributing. So that would be a to the 3/4 times 4/1 divided by a to the 5th to the 4th, which ends up being, the 4's cancel out, so a to the 3rd over a to the 20th, which becomes a to the 3 minus 20, or a to the negative 17th, or 1 over a to the 17th. So that we distribute first. Method 2, we're going to do the subtraction first. So we're going to have a to the 3/4 minus 5/1, and then to the 4th power. So we have to multiply, make common denominators here. So we get a to the 3/4 minus 20/4 to the 4th power. 3 minus 20 would be negative 17/4 to the 4th power. So that would be a to the negative 17/4 times 4/1. The 4's cancel out, so you have a to the negative 17, which again equals 1 over a to the 17th. So both methods get us the same answer. You need to add on here which method do you prefer and why. That's going to be an individual choice. Once you've completed that, go ahead and complete questions 5 and 6. I'm going to pause here, and you need to pause here while you do questions 5 and 6. All right, let's go ahead and look at the answers to questions 5 and 6. On question 5, you had 3x to the 1/2 divided by 15, all to the 2nd power. I went ahead and distributed the 2 to each term first before I simplified. So 3 squared x to the 1/2 times 2 over 1. The 2's end up canceling each other out there. So 3x squared x over 15 squared, so 9x over 225. And 9 over 225 reduces down to 1 over 25, giving you a final answer of x over 25. Now in question 6, they did not address this in the examples, but this is something we need to be aware of. When we have that negative exponent outside, you need to invert the entire fraction inside. So b to the 4/5 divided by b to the 7th becomes b to the 7th divided by b to the 4/5, and that gets us a positive exponent outside. Now we have a positive 5 to go ahead and distribute. And so that's what I did at that point. I distributed the 5 to both. So b to the 7 to the 5th is b to the 35th. b to the 4/5 to the 5th, the 5's cancel out, leaving you 4, and then you end up with 35 minus 4. So your final answer is b to the 31st power. Again, that's something to keep in mind. When the exponent is negative outside, you have to invert the fraction inside. And actually we have a set of problems coming up that's going to address that negative exponent rule there that we need to pay attention to. So here in your book you can see that you have the expression a divided by b to the negative n power, and how that becomes 1 over ab to the n, or 1 over a to the n b to the n, and they work all the way through. And so down here, a divided by b to the negative n power really becomes b divided by a to the positive n power. So again, invert, and that'll make your exponent positive. Let's go ahead and take a look at a problem here. What is the simplified form of 2x to the 6th divided by y to the 4th all to the negative 3rd? Again, because of that negative exponent there, I am going to invert that. So I'm going to have y to the 4th divided by 2x to the 6th, and now that's going to be the positive 3. So now I can distribute that 3 to all the terms I need to. So this is y to the 4 times 3 over 2 to the 3rd x to the 6th times 3. So y to the 12th over 8x to the 18th power. There's nothing else to simplify there, so that would be my final answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at your problem in the book. What is the simplified form of a divided by 5b to the negative 2nd? Again, we have that negative exponent, so we're going to invert. So that's 5b over a squared. Now we can distribute that 2 to all the terms involved. So 5 squared b squared divided by a squared equals 25b squared divided by a squared. Nothing more that we can simplify, so that would be our answer. Go ahead and pause here while you can complete questions 7 and 8 before you check your answers. All right, let's go ahead and check our answers on questions 7 and 8. So on number 7, we have that negative 3 exponent, so inverted. This negative sign out here can just stay out between the fractions for the entire time. So we invert and have 3y to the 4th over 2x to the 1/6, and then distribute that 3 to all the terms. So 3 to the 3rd y to the 4 times 3 over 2 to the 3rd x to the 1 over 6 times 3 over 1. ends up with a negative 27y to the 12th over 8x to the 1/2 power. And again, the entire thing is negative. That negative just carries down into the answer. Number 8, again, that -2, so we're going to invert this negative out in front, just carries down through the problem. So I end up with 5y to the 4th over 7x to the 3/2. Distribute that 2 to both terms. So 5 squared y to the 4 times 2 over 7 squared x to the 3/2 times 2 over 1. On the bottom there, those 2's are going to cancel out. So negative 25y to the 8th over 49x to the 3rd. 25 and 49 don't have any numbers in common or any factors in common, so that would be our simplified answer. All right, at this time you need to go ahead and complete the lesson check. So pause here while you do that and then come back and check your answers. All right, let's go ahead and go over the answers to the lesson check. So number 9, y to the 3rd divided by y to the 10th. Simple subtraction, y to the 3 minus 10 gives me y to the -7, and so I need to invert that, so my final answer would be 1 over y to the 7th. Number 10, distribute that 3 to both terms. So x to the 1/3 times 3 over 1. The 3's are going to cancel out. And then on the bottom, 3 to the 3rd power, which is not 9. 3 to the 3rd power would be 27. Excuse me, that is a mistake. So that should be x over 27. Number 11, m divided by n to the -3rd. Again, that negative outside means I'm going to invert it, so it's n over m to the 3rd power, and then distribute the 3 to both terms, leaving us with n to the 3rd divided by m to the 3rd power. Number 12, -4 outside, so I'm going to invert the fraction. So I have 5y to the 4th over 3x squared all to the 4th power. Then distribute the 4 to all the terms inside. So 5 to the 4th, y to the 4 times 4 over 3 to the 4th, x squared to the 4th. 5 to the 4th is 625. 4 times 4 is 16, so 625 y to the 16th. 3 to the 4th is 81. X to the 2 times 4 is 8. So our final answer is 625 y to the 16th divided by 81 x to the 8th. All right, we have one more problem in one more question, problem 13, dealing with scientific notation. A large cube is made up of many small cubes. The volume of the large cube is 7.506 times 10 to the 5th cubic millimeters. The volume of each small cube is 2.78 times 10 to the 4th cubic millimeters. How many small cubes make up the large cube? So we would do, break it out, so we would do the 7.506 divided by 2.78, and then 10 to the 5 minus 4. So 2.7 times 10 to the 1, which would really just be approximately 2.7 cubes would fit in, make up a large cube. So make sure you've completed all your notes before you move on to the homework.